this idea among the people, this misunderstanding among the people of the continent of the necessity of power, I find quite disturbing. The idea that because you don't have nuclear weapons, you are protected by the goodwill of the people that do have nuclear weapons, or I don't actually know. You know what I'm saying? What they're thinking. I'm gonna just be honest. In a world of violence, being unarmed is never a good idea, right? But that's the mentality that many of the people on the continent seem to have in regards to this issue, and it's quite disturbing. Now, I'm gonna get to this article, and then I'm gonna show a clip from the Europeans as they talk about it. But I want to get to this article because I think they brought up this treaty. This is from the United Nations themselves. This is the Treaty of Pelindaba. The Treaty of Pelindaba makes Africa a nuclear-free zone. This is, I don't know, can y'all see that? Can y'all see that? Is that big enough? Okay, yeah, y'all can see that. That's big enough. Right. Excuse me. There's no nuclear weapons here, right? But the enemies of Africa have nuclear weapons. Like, France is an enemy of the AES, right? The AES kicked France out of Africa and secured their uranium, which helps run the nuclear reactors that provide the electricity in France. The idea that France is just going to, not retaliate is just plain silly. So let's look at this article. All right. The African Nuclear Free Zone Treaty, also known as the Pelindaba Treaty, established the nuclear weapon free, zone on the African continent. The entire continent has to be free of nuclear weapons. In essence, the entire continent of Africa is thus unarmed, right? It opened for signature on April 12, 1996 in Cairo, Egypt, and entered into force on July 15, 2009. So there were 13 years. It took 13 years for Africa to sign this treaty. Now, what's crazy is, if this is the case, the United States knew Gaddafi not only didn't have any nuclear weapons, but couldn't have nuclear weapons if they were a signatory to this treaty. And therefore, the myth of them killing Gaddafi because of weapons of mass destruction or whatever the case may be is a complete and total lie. All right? Now, I want to ask you all, how many people know about this treaty? How many people have heard of the Treaty of Pelindaba? If you've heard about it, put a 1 in the chat. Now, get back to this article. Says the treaty requires all parties to apply full scope International Atomic Energy Agency safeguards to all their peaceful nuclear activities. So the IAEA, say that real quick, they're in charge. And I'm as soon as I read this article, I'm gonna show you what they say. Pelindaba Treaty has 43 signatories. Among them, Algeria, Angola, Benin, Botswana, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Cameroon, Cape Verde, Chad, Comoros, Republic of Congo, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, Cote d'Ivoire, Equatorial Guinea, Eswatini. Like, they have even the smallest, tiniest countries. Ethiopia, Gabon, Gambia, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, Kenya, Lesotho, Libya, Madagascar. You see, Libya was there in 2009. Malawi, Mali, Mauritania, Mauritius, Morocco, Mozambique, Namibia, Nigeria, Rwanda, Senegal, Seychelles, South Africa, Tanzania, Togo, and Tunisia. In addition, the following 51 states have signed the treaty, including all the ones we mentioned and ones we didn't, like Egypt, Eritrea, Eswatini, Ethiopia. So I think the only one that probably haven't is like South Sudan. So that's, but we showed the map. They got everybody. Togo, Uganda, everybody. Right? Now, says internal coordination mechanism. For the purpose of ensuring compliance with the undertakings of this treaty, the parties agreed to establish the African Commission of Nuclear Energy with headquarters in Pretoria, South Africa. Now, there's a book, I wish I could remember the name of the book, but it deals with who really runs South Africa. And it's not the black people. And you'd be shocked to know it's not the regular white people. I'll let you figure out that. So that is why this treaty, the Pelindaba Treaty, is why Africa, the entire continent, is a quote unquote nuclear free zone and is thus completely and totally unarmed. But I'm going to let you all listen to the person in charge of the, what do you call it, the AEIE, as he, tells us how great this treaty is.
It is a pleasure to be here with you today, the 5th anniversary of the opening for signature of the Treaty of Pelindaba. Let me start by recalling that though the treaty was opened for signature in 1996, Africa was among the first regions where countries declared their readiness to establish a continental nuclear weapon-free zone. In 1964, at its first summit in Cairo, the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the then Organization of African Unity adopted the Declaration on the Denuclearization of Africa. This seminal declaration was subsequently endorsed by the United Nations General Assembly. In 1991, taking advantage of the new developments in the international arena, African states commenced the process of implementing the 1964 declaration with the first meeting in Addis Ababa of an AU-UN established joint group of experts. The IAA was with you in this process back then. We assisted in the development of the treaty, including through participation in meetings and workshops and provision of technical expertise, as should be expected. The entry into force of the Treaty of Pelindaba in 2009 was highly significant for the non-proliferation architecture by expanding the coverage of nuclear weapon-free zones. I commend African states for having had the vision, the courage, and the perseverance to bring to life a treaty that protects current and future generations. The IAEA is the competent authority responsible for verifying that African states are indeed complying with their undertakings under the NPT and the Pelindaba Treaty. It provides assurances through the implementation of safeguards that nuclear material is used exclusively for peaceful purposes. Article 9 and Annex 2 of the Pelindaba Treaty on the verification of peaceful uses of nuclear energy are especially important as they strengthen the international safeguards system. Since the entry into force of the Treaty of Pelindaba in 2009, we have also assisted our member states who are parties to the treaty through our legislative assistance program. 36 parties and 9 signatories have received assistance from the IAEA. But we are not alone in this effort. I applaud the determination and work of Afrikan in recent years to strengthen the capacity of the parties to the treaty in implementing their safeguards agreements with the agency. The agency cooperates with Afrikan in this area through joint capacity building activities and by supporting its latest initiative of establishing Afrikan collaborating centers in nuclear safeguards. Ladies and gentlemen, the benefits of the Treaty of Pelindaba transcend the nuclear non-proliferation area. The treaty promotes confidence in the region and it paves the way for the advancement of the peaceful use of nuclear technology on the continent. And just like back in the 1990s, the IAEA is in this with you now. We are currently assisting Benin, Burkina, Chad, Malawi, Niger, and Togo to establish their first radiotherapy centers to facilitate access to cancer screening, treatment, and care. The IAEA is also supporting 48 veterinary laboratories in 45 African member states through the VetLab network to strengthen their capacities in early warning, in risk reduction, and management of national and global health risks. In several African countries, including Kenya, Mauritania, Senegal, and Sudan, we have used nuclear technologies such as nitrogen-15, that is a stable, non-radioactive isotope of nitrogen, and moisture nutrient probe to develop climate-smart agriculture practices for strategic application of nutrients and water to enhance food security.
But I wanted to play that and just show everyone that if we sit around and we wonder, man, why does Africa do this? Why do these African nations do that? Why don't they do A, B, C, and X, Y, Z? Because in a very real way, they are militarily powerless. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at dc.radical1. On Twitter, we're at dc_radical_ONE. And the Cashapp is $DCRadical1. Again, thank you for subscribing. A beat before ODA and straight black pride.